Soweto-born chef Wandile Mabaso is taking the South African culinary scene to the world stage. His signature style includes a fusion of traditional French and South African cuisine. Wabaso's latest achievements include catering for the BRICS heads of state, among them President Cyril Ramaphosa, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and Chinese President Xi Jinping. Culinary artist and chef Wandile Mabaso joins us in our Johannesburg studios. It's great to see you. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Michelle.
And a huge congratulations on your journey so far.
Yes, interesting journey, and I think still got a long way to go as well.
I mean, when you think about, you know, the burden that must be for you to be cooking for heads of state, do you feel that burden in your creative process as well, or do you just do what you've always done?
Well, I always try to do what I've always done. I think that's the best way to approach it because it does become overwhelming, especially with the security and the protocols and the food and safety that comes with it. Yeah. But it's a great opportunity, and anyhow, I think anyone's special that sits in front of my plate, whether the head of state or just a guest.
So I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's begin at the beginning. Yeah. Okay. How did you become Chef Wandile Mabaso?
Oh, wow. Well, it took probably over a decade, probably close to 15 years. I started cooking at age 8, and this is in Soweto where I grew up. And by 15, it was really a hobby before I knew it was a profession. And by 17, when I finished school, that's the first thing I did. I went to hotel school, and the rest is really history. And it's just been over a decade of work and training and traveling abroad in New York City and Paris as well. And then came back to South Africa back in 2018 and opened up our restaurant, and this is where we are today. Yeah.
When you talk about that training and your time in New York and in Paris as well, I mean, it wasn't just any time spent in New York and Paris. Yes. We're talking Michelin-starred restaurants and working under some of the best chefs.
Yes. I mean, I was truly blessed. I think opportunity and luck at the same time. But I stayed in New York City for 5 years, which was supposed to be just for 6 months worth work experience and exposure. Yeah. And time really went quick. But I was groomed by the French chefs, some of the best in the world, and I was mentored by them in New York City. And as a result, I got the opportunity to go to Paris as well, and ended up working for Alain Ducasse. And yes, this is in 2-star and 3-star establishment, which was very, very unique for a South African, and I think a chef of color as well. So it was really a blessing, and it's something that I don't take for granted. Yeah. I
mean, that thing about Michelin stars, those cannot be taken lightly, right? No. There is a very, if any of you have been watching cooking shows, you'll know that it takes a certain very, very high level to get even a single star. Yeah. And that star can as easily be taken away as well. Yeah. What do you take from an experience like that, you know, working at 2-, 3-star establishments?
I think first and foremost it's really good training as an individual, as a person, and also as a chef. Yeah. I mean, it teaches you about discipline a lot, about precision, about consistency, and just having the grit to make sure that you stick to your plan. So that ends up becoming your DNA, really, and just hard work in general and precision. I mean, we worked 20 hours a day, slept 3 hours, and came back and just cooked all day long. And it also gives you, you know, the confidence, cooking at the highest level. You know, now you got the confidence to even come and cook for these head of states that we are talking about, because you've been at the top and seen what the top looks like. Yeah. You know.
Listen, my stomach is grumbling because we've got some photos. I don't know if you can see it from your vantage point. Some photos of food being served at your restaurant. Now, our executive producer, Neo Monyetsane, can you perhaps freeze us on that picture there on the screen? And can you give us a sense of what's on the screen there? I've got the picture in front of me as well.
Yes. I think I can remember that. So we've created probably over 500 dishes, I think, from the last 4 years. I used to change the menu every day in our restaurant. And this was really to try and push ourselves and find creativity in the food. Hence, we call our restaurant Le Creatif. and really also to help me find a unique, universal palate in South Africa, because I spent so much time abroad, and I was trying to understand what's the universal palate that everybody can appreciate. That's either you're a person of color, or you're Asian, or you're old or young, or you're foreign or you're local, and I think it took time to get there. So I'm trying to remember what that was, but definitely we've created over 500. Some of them just once, but that is a beef, and it looks like a beef Wagyu. And it looks like a beef sauce, which usually we smoke with impepo. So we bring some Africanism into it. And you know, impepo is something that we as Zulus use a lot to talk to our ancestors. And I think that is actually a chip of purple sweet potato. Yeah.
And the food is just beautiful, right? And, you know, maybe we've eaten food that looks as stunning as this.
Yeah.
But it has to taste as stunning as it looks, right? So, yes, we do eat with our eyes first, but it's the flavor that you're also just pumping into your dishes.
Yes. No, that's the trick. I think a lot of chefs...
It's not easy to get right.
It's not easy. It takes a lot of experience, a lot of practice, and a lot of thinking and research and work. But obviously, it's the one thing a lot of places and chefs get wrong, where they focus on just the look.
What do they call it? Style over substance.
Yeah, and when you taste it, you think you know, the look doesn't you know, match the taste, and you're disappointed at the end. Because at the end of the day, a chef will always be judged on the quality of their food and the flavor, regardless of anything, whether your plate is worth 100,000 or your restaurant is 10 million. It's what's on your plate, whether it's on the street, whether it's on a shack, whether it's on a palace. So I tend to focus on flavor first, concept, and then I work on the look and feel of the plate. And it helps because naturally I am an artistic and creative person, so that process is always easier as well.
So there's an interesting paragraph that I read from someone who wrote he visited, there's a journalist, Tony Jackman, who visited one of your restaurants, and he describes a scene-setting chef's favor. So for you, it's not just about the food and what it looks like. You're also into the story behind it, right? So this is what he tells us. He was served an eggshell containing a hard-bodied chicken broth that had been cooked for 48 hours, and that egg used for serving it came from the same chicken.
Yeah. I mean, normally that hard-bodied chicken is an older chicken, so usually it's not easy for them to give out eggs.
Right.
But it came from the same, I would say, staple as the other chicken, so there is a possibility it came from there. But that concept is really, it's a simple concept but brought together nicely. And it's just to show you about sustainability and 360 and using what you have. And also, you know, taking guests through a journey as opposed to just tasting something and visually looking at it. So really the egg itself, you know, it comes from that chicken, and then we cook that chicken for 48 hours, slow cook, because it takes a very long time to cook, and it's a very heavy broth that we layer in flavor. And then we take a syringe or a drill first, and we take out the egg content, and we sanitize the egg inside in a glass washer. And then the same broth we created, we then put back inside the shell with a straw, and then we put on top of the corn that the actual chicken was fed. So it's like a whole 360, and I always tell the guests that, you know, who came first, the egg or the chicken? But they think they're going to suck through a raw egg, and that's the thing with mind over matter. So what they see and what they expect and what ends up going into their palate is completely different. And that allows you now to start thinking and start visioning, and that's what triggers emotions.
Yeah. So for you, it's about like a full-on experience. It's what you're thinking about the food, what you're tasting, what you're seeing. It's all of your senses.
Yes, definitely. And telling our stories as South Africans, because we got a lot of stories. We got a lot of culture, rich history. We've got the Indian Ocean, Atlantic. We've got the desert in the north, they meet in the south, the oceans, and I think those stories are not told. We're still championing European or American or Asian cuisine, which is okay. but I think we're not telling enough of our stories, which are right in front of us.
Yeah. So the creatives, Le Creative.
Le Creative, yes.
Is it difficult to get a booking?
Well, I think so. Some people tell me that they've tried and they have a really hard time, but we're blessed. I mean, we are almost full every night.
Wow.
Sometimes I think it's about 2 to 3 weeks waiting period, which is great because we don't really focus that much on marketing. A big part of our business is through word of mouth and just people genuinely just loving our cuisine and what we are offering.
Yeah. And I know you said, you don't really care about who's sitting behind the plate. Your standard is the same. But you have had some big names. I was just going through your Instagram page preparing for our interview. Gabrielle Union, Deborah Cox, all seeming to have had quite a good time at your restaurant.
Yes. And everything is genuine and unique, like I said.
Yeah.
And they've become friends of mine as well, and when they book and whenever they're in the country, it's really like, chef, do you have a table for us?
Look, they don't wait 3 weeks for a booking. Most likely not.
They don't wait. Okay, we make a plan for them. But however, it's never, chef, I'm going to take over your restaurant and I want exclusivity. I don't want people to see us. They say, do you have a table for us? And they'll sit next to anyone just like normal guests. And it's just genuine, and that's what I love about guests and fans of Le Creative Restaurant. Yeah. Well,
Chef, we wish you all the very best, and the AIM Report can't wait to come and dine with you.
Yes, thank you. And we got a lot of new things coming up soon.
Okay. We'll see you then. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Chef Wandile Mabaso, South African chef, and just all-round culinary artist joining us here in studio.